But,
Oh,
It should be a closed session.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
If that's what you request,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what it is.
yeah.
So we'll get that. He got the information, but I don't know what's going on.
Oh.
I did hear from the, Rhonda, and I'll say this in the meeting too, that there wasn't a lot of spending in the last 2 months anyway.
Oh, okay.
So if she gave him information, but if it's something that he's not prepared to, it wasn't a lot of spending anyway.
Oh, okay.
And we'll see what he wants to do, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Did we pass a resolution to put some funding towards the summit?
No, we talked about it, but I don't remember you.
Exactly.
We talked about it.
Yeah,
It was talked about.
yeah, we need to send that forward. Too much time passing.
Have you been asked for
Yeah.
explanation?
I'm going,
Put that on your agenda.
oh, I am, but I
But we did talk about it.
revised his agenda tonight.
Well, it already went through, just talk.
Yeah,
It already went through, just talk. Because you asked for 10,000.
we not gonna keep you here that long tonight.
No, but I'm just saying, it already went through that process. You don't need to,
Hello.
it was $10,000,
Hi, sir,
right?
how are you?
Just wash my
Always a pleasure. That's okay.
Yeah.
It was 10,000, right?
Yeah.
You doing okay?
I think so. How about yourself?
Good, good.
I saw your son today.
Yeah, he told me.
I don't want that to be the thing though, the fact that it takes up too much time of my business, cause there's a lot of things.
Commissioner?
Yeah. I want him to know that it's not just me, but there are some other commissioners that agrees and have some concern about it. But just to speak on it briefly.
Volunteer policy, we gonna get it, the ball rolling on it, but I know we probably gotta bring it through legislation.
Right, yeah, I would think so.
What type of volunteer policy?
Just, I know we getting volunteers here, so we just want a policy, we don't have a volunteer policy.
Oh, okay, and it should be what I mean, because
Something happened.
they're like riding on the city's insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sir, you doing all right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he talked, I don't know. Okay, mine,
City manager,
How you doing?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
All right.
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready whenever you are.
Thank you. The personnel meeting and finance meeting will come to order. The first thing we have on the agenda is the matrix report. City manager, you have any information from us, for us, that I know it's you just a couple weeks in, so.
It's not in there. But I did explain to, Commissioner, or Chairperson Eisen that I talked to Rhonda, and she said that we didn't have a lot of spending for the past couple of months. So I didn't know if he still wanted a report out that's not in there. She emailed it to you. Okay.
Nothing to report right now.
Okay.
If there's anything important, I'll get it to you. I'll talk with her tomorrow and we'll get it to you.
Next thing we have on the agenda is resolution approval to sign the engagement letter with Redmond, Robeson Audit Services.
Raymond.
Audit.
Oh, that's the audit. Yeah, that's on the audit.
Okay.
And I understand that we've had good service from them in the past. And they're being recommended to do the audit again this year. Yes.
I don't know how much they charge, but they just the payment will be the same.
It's the amount.
Oh, it's all in it?
It's on the second page.
Okay. Let's see.
It's in the amount.
Go ahead.
Mr. Manager, if you
Go
don't mind.
ahead, please.
So the quote for services is $47,200 for the base audit,
Okay.
which is up $1,400 from 2018, and an additional fee of $4,000 will be charged for the June 30th, 2019 audit for the single audit required by the state of Michigan for CDBG. And then there's an additional fee of $2,000 will be charged if there are any other federal programs that are required to be included in the single audit. So that's the amount for consideration.
So 50,
About 50,
51,
maybe the total sheet
200
for the audit.
for the audit. Commissioner Adams.
Yes, sir, through the chair. If I'm not mistaken, I'd like to know, these are the same, audit services that, we had prior to emergency management?
Prior to emergency management?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I would like to know, what is the, actual procedure, of someone bidding on this? Is it the same RFP that needs to go out? And if in fact we can request a more thorough and forensic type of audit
City Manager. speak.
going back some years, because we had some funding in one of the audits that we never got an answer to. And it was like $50,000. And we had something in this last audit that we never got an answer to. And we just can't keep rolling along and just letting things just go. So if we can,
If I may, Mr. Chair, what I would like to do is find out about that particular item and get a response for you on that. And also, do we know if they were the auditors before, during the emergency management?
That I have to check, I don't know.
Okay.
I have like, several years of pamphlets that, yeah.
Well, we'll check and make sure.
Okay.
But I've looked at the work that they've done, and they've done a good job of providing a financial audit. What you're talking about, we probably need a management audit.
Okay,
So I'm looking into doing that also.
okay, that's satisfactory to me. Thank you, sir.
So and I'm sorry for clarity, you need to know they are the same firm that we used prior to emergency management?
Yes, like 07, 06.
Okay, yeah, I'll check.
Thank you.
Anything?
And if in fact, through the chair, if an RFP went out for bid for those services,
For this one in particular?
for the job period of
I know
hiring
it
a
has been
firm.
done in the past, but this one, I do not remember issuing an RFP.
Okay, I guess that's where I'm going, because if in fact they were the ones that was chosen by emergency, no, it wasn't. I'm standing here now and I clearly remember. I wasn't a commissioner, but I attended a lot of the meetings.
Right.
And that's when a lot of chaos got stirred up. They took us into an emergency state.
Okay.
There was some findings that was questionable on the audit, and, okay. But my question was how they obtained the actual job. I mean, was it through RFP of a bid or whatever?
I'll let you know that as well.
Thank you.
From my memories right now, I know that I didn't issue an RFP for this year.
Okay. Oh,
I
no,
can say so.
Yeah.
I'll find out how.
yeah, originally, because I know they've done it.
We've done it in the past where we issued an RFP, but we'll find out.
Okay, thank you.
Now, just for your information, Commissioner, one of the things that I do is whenever a commissioner asks a question, I'll send the response to that commissioner, but I'll send a copy, make sure everybody else is copied so they can know what's going on.
Exactly, and I love that transparency through the chair. I really appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. All right, we good on that?
So are we moving that forward, or you want to wait till you get the responses, or what are we doing?
What's the time? We have to have this
Yes, ma'am.
city manager to have this done. I don't know. What's the time?
We're getting ready to do it immediately once it's approved by council, and they will begin to start the audit because it's starting for the last fiscal year that ended in June 30.
So I will share the summation. So what we have is that we're doing a audit independently, so independent audit, so which is, the commission says transparency, that is something that I think you and the others, co-chair Singleton, were looking at previously. So if this is in line with what you were looking for to do the audit, then I'm going to move that we move it forward so that it can be done expeditiously and we can get the financial report.
So the RFP for information, city manager, what we do with that?
So the motion is on the floor. So
There were motions in the committee.
What's the question again?
So we recommending this, artist.
You're recommending it without knowing whether there's an RFP process. You'll know that by tomorrow.
I will let you
Okay,
know.
we're.
So is it contingent on, do you want to wait to hear that answer, or you want to go ahead and move forward? How do you, I can get that answer for you tomorrow.
Okay, let's put it on the agenda now, move forward.
Okay.
Thank you. Next one, then we had employment agreement with the manager, we gonna move that to the. That's correct. Discussions of volunteer policy. Yes, city manager, we noticed that, or I noticed we starting to get volunteers here. We
Yes,
don't have a volunteer policy in place to protect the city, I know it's a lot of information we might be working with. So we want to get the ball rolling on a volunteer policy. I know it probably has to go through legislation too. So,
Yes. And we have a draft copy.
yeah, I guess,
It's in the package.
It's in the package.
yeah.
And
The sample.
we have a sample.
Mhm.
And we're also going to look at a couple of the cities that I know have volunteers to see. Oh, okay. So, we'll have something to compare,
Oh, okay.
yes.
For legislation.
And we'll take it to the legislative committee also.
Commissioner Adams?
Yes, sir, through the chair. It has nothing to actually do with this. I just heard you say it's taking something through the legislature and the chair is here, and I'd just like to make mention if in fact we can do something about our, committee meetings agendas and put something in the form of old business on the agenda, because there's some things that we've been working on as individuals
Right.
to bring together as a body that still needs to be addressed because it's for the betterment of this community. And I don't think that they just need to be buried.
Mm-hmm.
If we could possibly do that,
What you mean?
like my brother's keeper, this event is coming up
Mm-hmm.
and we put something forth and we haven't saw the resolution to come before us and we need to take care of that.
But that wouldn't be back on the committee, it was already discussed. That,
No, we need to see it in a resolution form is what was requested.
right, and like we talked before, we did talk to
Yeah.
Mr. Mitchell about that, that can go to full
Yeah.
commission if it meets everything that he needs
Okay,
for it to be.
okay. Okay,
And as far as old business, when I talk to the chairs, we just put whatever on the agenda.
I mean, but just so it looks in order, when somebody comes in and they're like, well, they're discussing that and there's nothing on the agenda.
That makes sense to me also.
Yeah, but I'm like, what the, it's not on that. But thank you.
We can bring that up
Appreciate
to
that.
legislative. Yeah.
We can just make a section on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
And it can be the last thing.
Or at the bottom part of the agenda.
And that was the last thing on the agenda for tonight, but I just, Dr. Time, if that's something you want to.
Yes, thank you. Okay, now, when we're talking about trying to get caught up on the definition of volunteers, because also, we have positions also in the charter, that, are non-paid positions, and so those are basically volunteer positions as well. Is this in lieu of that, in addition to that, or are we doing clarification or expansion on what's already in the charter?
What we're looking to do is get the residents involved. Get them involved in the activities out in the community, in City Hall. We've got to raise the voting rate from 8%. That's ridiculous.
Very.
So these are listed, okay, I said,
It's a sample. It's just a sample.
oh. Honorable Chair, so this is a sample, we to look, right, so are we to kind of tailor this, or are you gonna give feedback, so that, we can take it and make it, then when will we get the input? So what we're looking at is like we just mentioned, that in the charter, we have positions in the charter that lead to assisting the city in the various capacities. And now this is, which is excellent, which is great for the volunteer component where you have volunteers there. But then I look at the template, within the template, are we gonna, Honorable Chair, so we're gonna trust our capable city manager to pull the template together, and then we're gonna come back and look at it? Or are you gonna, as a group, give input? Because I saw, as a physician, I saw you had health screening there, and I know there may be some public health issues, stuff like that, so that's why I'm wondering, this is great. But I was thinking a little bit of structure to it, a little bit of beat to it, and so we have something more to work with. Or if you're gonna keep that up in the city's manager, let him just handle that and bring a document to us, or should we give input?
Times the city manager gonna find input from other cities, and we'll bring it to legislative committee and vet it out and structure it for the city purposes of the city, how we can use it. Commissioner Henry.
I respectfully ask the chair to entertain the 5G issue in this committee. There's some other things that have transpired. So I'm just trying to find as many avenues as we can to speak about this atrocity that could be happening right now. Chicago right now has filed court case against them to shut it down. So if we can put it on the agenda, and every chance we get, we need to kick this can down the road until we can make a decision that is either harmful or not.
We're still on the volunteer issue.
We're gonna have Ms. Todman come. That was the plan.
Who?
Dr. Todman.
She gonna tell us what about 5G?
I don't know what she's gonna tell us, but.
That's what she said. She had something to talk about as 5G.
We reached out to her to see if she can speak on 5G. She is researching to see, that's not something she normally deals with. She's going to research to see if she can find out information on it. But she'll be here next week at Planning and Economic to give her full presentation on what she started at the commission meeting.
What date is that?
That's next Wednesday on the.
Because we requested that for legislative committee.
Yeah, but
so-
she's not sure she
Okay.
could, that's not her level of expertise, the 5G, but she's gonna look and see if she can get some information. But she will be here next week to speak on the presentation that she started at the city commission.
Thank you.
That's why I had.
Right.
So that means we got another person on board to look at that issue. But do we drop it just because
No.
we got another person on board that's gonna look at it?
No way.
Can we put it back on the agenda? I wanna keep it going, we need it, as things progress,
Public safety.
whatever.
Let's
Yeah,
finish
that's a better place for that, public safety. We'll put it on the agenda.
Let's finish talking about the policy first, and we can go to.
Just to touch base, just very briefly. If we could get our city manager, if he runs across it, another thing that was requested, and that was to find out if anything in the form of 5G has been placed in our 4 square miles.
Okay.
And who okayed it, because it needs to be removed until we do approve.
So that will be a part of the public safety, discussion. So we'll give him time to do his research and bring it to public safety.
With Dr. Time.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, just, I'm gonna go back to the other part, but just to add to that, Anthony Seeley, I think it's Celley, he was the one who's actually has the greatest expertise. He's the one who brought it to the body, to the commission. Yes, he's the one, I think, including him, since that's his main expertise. And what we talked about, I think, before in economic and planning, is that the towers are, the new technology is 5G compatible, but it has been turned on. And the only place that's doing 5G is in St. Joe, and they have a pilot, which is a police vehicle with all the cameras and stuff like that, that can read your face, and that's the experiment with 5G. But every parking, every new street sign, stuff like that, is all going to be 5G compatible. That's how it's set up for technology.
Let's just set up the technology. It doesn't say that we have to involve ourselves with it. And I don't think it's gonna set us back technically, because.
Just say we finished with the policy.
Yeah.
Okay, now, you want to talk about, that's the last thing on the agenda. Now, let's talk, anybody, we got time for 5G? You want to talk about 5G?
The danger, we just talked about it.
We'll bring it to public safety so we can get all our information.
Okay.
Yes,
We'll
there's a
have
little time to
research
get
done.
information.
Actually, you can put it on.
Okay, I guess.
We'll be public safety, give us time, Commissioner.
Well, I'm sorry, were we, still in the discussion of the volunteer part?
Yes, we were.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, because I didn't know what you was really talking about, but I'm kind of grabbing it.
You
Apologize.
got anything on volunteer?
No, whatever we need to do, let's do it.
Mr. Ford.
Thank you. Just to bring more to this 5G thing, there's a presentation. No, there was a presentation done at the county
Let's stay
level.
with the policy. Then we're gonna talk about 5G.
I can come back?
Come back.
Okay.
Let's finish this up.
Very
We
good.
got time for 5G. You got time to go home with dinner?
Honorable Chair, the last, yeah,
Just a little.
right, this is short, it's all the policy. I think it's great because what I see here, and then what I was saying earlier, because the co-chair was here, about tying together the positions that are in the charter that are non-paid, so therefore they would be classified as volunteer. So that I saw the template, and I saw that, that was the disconnect. So that means that we need to look at charter positions, or keep them separate because they're already built into the charter. So that may be, so Honorable Chair, that's totally separate because we have these positions there already. And this now is looking for community involvement. So that's what I was saying. How we're gonna make sure what we got already in the charter, that's one thing, and that we have this volunteer thing, you can do citizen involvement thing, or is it gonna be something that you're gonna combine? So I was trying to get some clarity on that.
I'm sure the city manager will do a thorough look into it.
That's correct.
See what fits the city.
That's correct.
And bring to legislative, and bring it to us as full commission.
I guess I just, through the chair, need clarity on what a volunteer policy actually is, because if somebody step on anybody's property, their property owner is liable.
Man, do we have volunteers here that work in the city hall?
We don't have any here, but I'll give you a live example. I ran a department in California, had about 950 people. 150 of them were volunteers. 800 were employees. So people were able to go out and we were able to do a lot more work because we had volunteers working with the employees.
Okay,
And
okay.
what they're talking about is a policy that makes sure they are protected.
Okay, okay.
And their duties are defined and those sorts of things.
Okay.
And the city is protected.
Through the chair, I think I get it now, because just because they may be on my property, that liability travels with them wherever they're volunteering. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, that's what we're going to.
Okay. Would that,
research.
would that also include anyone that's working off hours of community service?
That might be what Dr. Tan is talking about,
Okay.
but I'm going to research that too.
Okay.
And I
Thank
think that's been done for public works. We've used
Okay.
workers for community service.
Thank you.
That'll be considered policy.
Yes.
Any more questions on volunteer?
Can I ask you a question? I don't know if it's about what you guys are talking about, but
Mr. Duncan.
about Jane Clark Park, you're trying to do some policies and procedures. Public, if somebody came in on both ends of the beach, so, Jane Clark Park, got in free, somebody had an accident, or just say they had a kid and the kid got hurt. The city has to pay for that, especially if they don't have a ticket,
Well,
or a way of saying that they were there for the event or something.
Let's see, man.
well, Mr. Chair, what you don't know about, this came up in the Public Safety Committee. And first of all, we're doing the research to find out how that other entry gets there. It looks like one is a pay entry and one's a play entry.
Yeah.
And we need to deal with that.
All right.
No.
On both ends, you can walk in. On both ends, on the south end and on the north end, you can walk in. And that's what actually happens. They kind of get caught up on the south end of the beach. But on the north end, they come at will, they treat Jane Clark Park like it's their backyard. The house is right there on the end. And during the week, during the week, most of on that north end, there's none of us down there. We need a beach what's free to the public, but you don't have no certain side of the beach that you're going to be on, and you interfere with our events and all of that type of stuff. And you're ahead of this committee.
Yes, I am.
I'd like for you to help do something about it, okay?
Turn it over to folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we finished with volunteer policy. Anything with volunteer policy? Thank you. Miguel, Citizen Rep, that's something to say on volunteer policy?
With the volunteer part, is it gonna be a set number, how many volunteers we can have?
That'll be, we gonna be looking into that, doing some research.
Also, with the volunteer, will they be able to earn college credits?
That's another thing to look into, too. City manager got a lot to do. You can earn the college credit, volunteer, that's a good thing, internship, you know, so.
We'll have to do that.
It's a good thing to look at some of those.
High school credits.
Yeah, high school.
Be part of the research.
The schools would do that. I'm sorry, I said the schools would be the one
The school
offering credits for
Yeah,
volunteerism
volunteer,
for
yeah.
their students. The city wouldn't do that.
No,
We would be
right.
working in conjunction with them, but the schools, subsequent schools are people that will provide credits for that.
Can I comment?
I didn't hear you. You need to step up to the mic. I want you to hear what you say.
I was saying that the schools themselves would have to provide, credits and stuff like that. The city wouldn't be responsible for providing credits for it.
All they can do is, all the city can do is just.
Support, right,
Yeah.
and allow people to volunteer.
Right.
But I think in my committee, we talked about, I think I sent something about internships of getting local community, local colleges to send students as interns for the city of Benton Harbor to work and to come back and actually serve in the city of Benton Harbor. So.
Honorable Chair, I do this, Benton Harbor Health Center is a training center for University of Michigan, Wayne State University, Andrews University, and then also the Barron Springs School System, and in the past at one time for the Benton Harbor High School. So all that's required of an entity is to have a learning experience for that student and to document their time. So you could have someone shadowing city manager, you could have someone shadowing the finance director, and that will qualify for the school system, just keeping track of their time and that exposure. So it's not very complicated, except, sometimes the evaluation has to be done, but that's more in the academic setting. But that's all that's required of an entity who, and then also working with the young lady who Cora Down, she does works with the court and with the volunteer agency, and that's also could be a site where individuals could put in time, and it just requires supervision and documentation of hours. So they can come help, they can do public works. It's just they got to clock in the time, that document, they have to have supervision.
Thank you, Dr. Tom. Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. I just heard some things mentioned that just reminded me of the volunteers that we were afforded and given through my brother's keeper of the scholars that I oversaw a couple of years ago, and they were working towards their masters. 3 of them went on, they finished, they completed their masters. I can't believe I was responsible for doing some paperwork as a beautician, a commissioner, knowing nothing about this, but I successfully did it. But their volunteer services are still available. Not only their volunteer services, we have the VISTA program through the governor's office afforded us available, but we must have some funds to match their dollars so that they can come in the community. And what they do is they train and work with other volunteers to teach them how to do things like organizing and getting things done. And being the finance department, I hope that we can think outside of the box of how to actually put some of those things together. I'll give you an example. The funds that we asked to set aside for my Brother's Keeper Summit, all of those funds may not be used for that one event, but will or can be set aside to actually pay for a couple of VISTA students to come in. The Obama Foundation has matching funds to match with a community's local government funds to help aid in bringing these volunteers into the community to get some needed things done. And I just hope that we all just keep an open mind moving forward to try to get something done.
Anything else on volunteer? Thank you. Any other business somebody wants to talk about?
I want to see some progress.
Yeah, I want to keep on the volunteer thing. But it's what I'm hearing is, everybody really on the same page. And thinking outside the box, I just love it. When I lived in Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo is students, college town, and they use the city of Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo Public Schools. They use volunteers I mean, like crazy, because, you're talking about almost between Western and some of the other universities there, you probably got over 50, almost 50,000 students there during the school years, and they just look for stuff for them to do. Even, they got a good art and cultural community too, where they plays and stuff where they work on stage, their stage hands and all that stuff are all volunteers, so they find places for them, even in the teaching field, even the recreation department, city hall, so that's how a lot of communities really thrive off of, volunteerism, because they won't be able to, all the things that need to be done, you definitely wouldn't have it in your budget to do, so.
Right.
And then it's a win-win situation, that the community is getting the service and the people who provide the service are getting the experience, so. I'm glad that, that we're moving in that direction. That we've always been in a kind of like financial, straight whirlpool, but we can do some things for ourselves by, again, thinking outside the box, so.
Yeah. If I may just add to something that Singleton just reminded me of,
Yes.
I got an email this evening. I was on a conference call yesterday, and a group of children that were being arrested and misbehaving down here in the downtown area drew me away from this very important call. But I gave our city manager a packet, and if I may, through the chair, ask him if he got an opportunity to look at it or through it.
No, I didn't.
Okay, but that's what, please do though, in your spare time, because it's going to be coming up real soon.
Okay.
I got an email today, and it just dawned on me that we are about to okay this, I forgot their name. It's an organization of volunteers that will be coming to help to host the summit, November 1st, with the high school students. I just thought about this, and I'm going to email it to each and every last one of you, so you'll have the information, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams.
I just thought about that.
Hard work.
Look at God.
One last thing, I think, also on this, that would be good, like how you have, it listed right now for your different committees and the openings are open for citizen involvement, that the positions in the charter that also requires, vacancies that are volunteers, so we can list that, so when the honorable, city manager, that he has this, volunteer list of new community input, but then you also have vacancies or positions that I may be incorrect, that have not been filled before. I don't know if I'm correct about that, but I know that the charter has positions that are non-paid, and I don't think the citizens would know what they are.
I'm sure the city manager will do a thorough.
Thank you.
We got it.
Oh, yeah. So we good on, policies? Anybody, any business somebody want to talk about? I got one thing, city manager, can you give us an update on the finance director? Did it go out, or do we?
No, Mr. Chair, that's more than just a notion.
Okay.
The city is in a good financial spot right now, and I don't know what the impact of changing right now would mean, so I am investigating it though.
Okay, finance director.
Yeah.
Okay.
One more hard pressing matter. RFP resolution for finance director.
Okay, yeah, it was basically, I think, kind of like old business. It was brought before this committee about finding some funding to the Benton Harbor, the city of Benton Harbor, the city of Benton Harbor going to be a site for the My Brother's Keepers conference this year, and through this committee, we had asked former city manager to, look at some funds.
Right.
But we never did hear anything about it.
Do you mean look at some funds or look for us?
Look for some, look for some funds.
Right, right.
Okay, clerk got some information on it.
It went to the committee, and the last thing that, the former city manager said that he was gonna check to make sure it was an eligible expense. But Mr. Mitchell he hasn't received all this information yet, so I will let him know everything that transpired, and then he could then report back to the commission on that matter.
Well, if you're looking for
I'll
some,
give him updated.
if you're looking for some funds, I'm willing to, we had some, funding for training. And a lot of us haven't used it, and I would be willing to give up my, training funds to go toward that.
Well, I'll talk to him tomorrow and give him all the background information, and I don't know, he has to check to make sure if it's an eligible expense as well.
Right.
But then it'll give him time to do his research and then connect back to the commission and let you know what's going on.
And I know that would have to go before the full commission.
Yeah, right, it will, yeah.
Can I just add, I want this community to know that One Love Global has been at the forefront in the umbrella of all of the communities of MBK all over Michigan. And they have not asked us for anything. This is for us and helping to build capacity of young leadership, okay? They are donating $5,000 that they themselves have raised for us. And I just think that we need to do our part.
And all of that was said at that committee meeting.
What specifically are the funds for? I guess
For things just like the summit, the children have to eat and serving breakfast, paying for the venue.
I'm asking specifically what.
Paying for the venue of the college, the main stage, as well as the reception hall. We're looking at over 600 people, children at least, coming from all over this, okay? They have to eat. We'll talk.
I'm saying.
I'll send you the information.
No, what I'm saying is you're
Go to the
on.
mic.
Thank you. So what I was asking was, and I'm not opposed to helping, and I don't think people are opposed to helping, but when people are spending their money, you have a right to ask, what is it being spent on? I'm always donating money and time and resource and that kind of thing. I just don't make a big deal out of it most of the time. So I'm asking specifically whether the funds going to be used for. Are the funds being used to pay off debt associated with that, like to cover the venue, to cover the food costs? What are the exact costs? Is it costing $3,000 to feed people? Is it costing $100 or $1,500 to house people? What are the exact breakdown of the cost is what I'm asking. Thank you.
Can you send out something that shows
And
so that people can give money to
I
us.
will do that.
Because it's a
If
great cause.
we have to put Mr. Michael Smith from the Obama Foundation in a hotel, I think that we need to do that too. Because I think that we need to introduce our children to some people that are doing some great things all over this nation. But you will definitely have that.
Send out to us, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, give us a breakdown of what you need.
Ms.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Henry. See, smile.
I was just
Oh.
thinking about what she just said.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not on the volunteer, we're.
Oh, you wanna talk
talking
about-
about.
You talking about
MBK.
Oh, okay, so she said she's gonna give us a whole lot of.
a breakdown on what money's for?
Can I ask, if this committee, through the chair, will look at us getting, contracts and the new hires that have been hired in the last 6 months. We asked as a body and commission meeting if the former city manager would give us that information. And so far, we haven't gotten it. It's been about 6 months now, we've been asking for it. Who's the players? How did they get hired? What qualifications did they have? And how much money we're paying them? And that I would like to see if it would come through this chair. Honorable Chair, please.
Yes, new hires.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, city manager.
yes, I am already doing a search. I've begun a search to find out all the new hires, particularly since the emergency manager left. And the process.
Thank
And
you,
the
sir.
dollars.
Thank you very much, sir.
Now, anything else?
Can I say one thing, Mr.
Yes, you
Chair?
can, city manager.
Please don't give up your training money. You're gonna need it.
Right.
Balls in the house. That's what I'm talking about. Through the chair, bring something back to the remembrance of the members. They're here. About 2 months ago, I've been at this thing now for 3 months. Each and every commissioner had a packet of this event.
Yes.
And a breakdown of quite a bit of things. I'm going to email it back out though. Okay? All right.
Send me a copy too.
I know you have it. It's in that yellow envelope that I gave you.
Okay.
And it wasn't for you through the chair
Okay.
to actually I want it back.
Okay.
Because I'm looking for another sponsor and I'm reaching out to others. Because we don't want to just use what we've set aside. We had Lansing Mayor set aside $100,000 for their My Brother Keeper to get some things done in their community. And not only for their community, but the rest of the MBK communities. It's just an effort of us coming together and just trying to get some things done. And changing the narrative of the disparities that all of us have been enduring.
Before you leave,
Miguel.
I'm gonna email it to you.
I got a question for Commissioner Allen.
Commissioner Adams,
Got a question for you. I'm sorry.
Who are some of the community, stakeholders that you work with in the city that help you with My Brother Keeper?
Actually, we've been on Zoom with quite a few folks that can attend that are members. And some of the students. I'm about to turn this thing over to our youth. Okay, I've been holding on to it ever since its inception, and I'm gonna put it in the hands of who it belongs to. They're stepping up to the plate.
Commissioner Henderson actually made mention to this some meetings ago. Maybe we can look at putting an option on the website for people to donate.
That would be wonderful.
So we'll see if we can do that.
That would be wonderful, because any funds raised is not just for this one specific event. And anything released for any cause has got to come through here, okay? Only money I'm interested in is what I make, for me.
So I'll find that out and I'll let you know, let everyone know if we're able to do that.
That would be wonderful.
you got something to say, or you going?
I'm gonna change the subject. I'm gonna change the subject. I'm gonna
I
ask.
still have a question on it. Okay. On the, yes, sir. Honorable Chair, so I think it's great. So because of MBK, the question that I have in terms of its 501(c) status, or is it it's a for-profit venture? Because because one of the things, if it's 501(c), the money can go ahead and circulate. People can also, it can be done for other projects because it falls under the banner of MBK. But then also there's a tax relief that people can get as well. So I wanted to know is MBK a recognized national 501(c)?
It's about to be. Through the Children Fresh Start.
Right, I'm not saying locally, I'm just saying
Oh,
nationally.
oh, yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Through
because
the Obama
actually,
Foundation.
that would cover it. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you for talking about My Brother's Keeper. Now we're gonna talk about.
I want to change the subject just a little bit and ask the chair if we, as a elected body, have privy to any information about the local income tax. Is there any data that should come out of all of that that we could utilize for our own selves? And that's just a question, I don't know. If there's any data that can come out of that. Because if we're gonna stay in the 21st century, then we need to be data-based. We need to be factual. And data should be in everything that we do, especially about 4.5 Mile Benton Harbor. So I'm asking if there is any information to let us know what data can come out of that income tax initiative.
Honorable Chair, can I?
Do you mean data or money?
Data. I know the money. We already know how much money come out. But is there any data that we could utilize that can come out of that income tax? I know we're gonna keep people's personal stuff to them, but it should be some data coming out of it. This is the 21st century, guys.
Could you give an example?
Right, what kind of data is why? What kind of
What's
data
three
why?
being
Data, the why is not, because data is good. Information is power. So if it's a part of the document to say, well, 30% of the population paid 5%, or if it's whatever data can come out of it, we should know it.
Just go down.
Not specific to a person, but
residents.
And there should be, I know there's a limit that the state allows you to have about this initiative, but anything that we can have, we should have. And I'm asking this body to see if we can do that research and see where we are. All we have to do is call Grand Rapids and they'll tell us exactly.
No, I understand what you're asking.
You understand, I know you did.
Percentage of residents over business.
Honorable Chair and Honorable. Talk to that. Seconds of my time. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Duncan. I want to change the topic.
Oh, you talking about the tax?
No, he's talking about something different. Okay, Commissioner Henry, I wanted to report a clarity. I think, so what we're looking at was, in terms of data, we're looking at the demographic data that doesn't have the personal information, but the age data, the statistics in terms of the workers, non-workers, that contribution. So a data sheet that you would understand the details of what came in financially. And then I think also what I'm going to ask the Honorable Chair, that when you do a document like that, you do the history like you do in the resolution, that you say, okay, history, this proposal was put out here, this is what the initial model was set up, so that there's a flow. That also I would want you to know that this is how the original design was set up, and then that design changed, and then it may be needed for correction. So I think that's the information that you want, the history of it, and then the details that we would do statistically without name, but age, race, and those who work in the city, who work out. That information that's already there, that would not violate any HIPAA or any violations of privacy. Is that kind of what you're saying, that amount of detail on data?
That's kind of, but I know the state has regulations and we can do it, but I really think we empower ourselves if we knew exactly how this worked for us.
Thank you. Mr. Duncan, anything on tax? I want to talk about the tax.
No, I'm not gonna talk about taxes, but I'll wait until you guys finish
Anything
talking
else on
about
tax? Yeah, I got some on tax.
I got a question to the city commission, city manager. Will it be a committee for the city income tax? Like a second committee?
I'm sorry, say it again.
So will it be another committee, like a volunteer committee or something? Like.
I hope not. I hope not to have another meeting.
Well, we already have a city income tax.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
I know that.
he's asking about another committee to that committee.
I was, that was one meeting I think they talking about, maybe having a second group.
You're talking about the,
Appeals.
appeal board for the city income tax, that's what you're talking about.
Okay.
And yes, we have, well, we need to establish it.
That's the only thing that's mandatory by the state. The other one was not.
That's true.
Anything else on tax? This is not what you want to talk about.
I want you guys to, how do you say, see, you guys made me wait so long, but
Take your time.
I want you guys to adopt, I want all the commissioners and city managers in particular to donate, not donate, I want you guys to adopt Nicky Yarborough Park. I'm asking you guys to do it, but I'm asking really for selfish reasons. Because I won't go into all of what they do to us as citizens and as seniors on the river. But you guys know, and you guys can spread the message, inform our new city manager, and with all of you guys help, I know that'll be the end of that kind of stuff. And we'll have our own beach, and we can vote, bring on events on our beach, make them come to the city manager and pay for the use of the property. If I can get you guys to do that, that would probably be the best thing ever happened in Benton Harbor, because we have been disconnected as black men with our fun time. A lot of us stopped coming when they start finding those bodies down there. So we need to change the complexion of the river back to where our people can enjoy it the way we have been since I was a little kid. I'm one of those river rats they be talking about. So I'm fighting for it, and that's why I'm asking you guys to do that for the citizens of Benton Harbor. And me in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy, for that information.
That's a request.
That's a request.
I
Thank you.
have a question to that, Chair.
Dr. Time,
The downtown park on Riverview, there's a mixture between city and state, if I'm right. And that some of that property is by the state, some is by the city. So so is Yarborough part of the state or part of the city? Because I don't understand the adoption.
Yeah, we'll get that information.
It's a city, the other one is federal. Through the chair.
I don't understand the adoption piece if it's the city.
Maybe he means you wanted to take ownership of it.
Better care of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Adopt it. You understood that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Duffy. Commissioner Adams.
Yeah.
Can we touch base on something else just briefly before? I mean, this is, finance.
We got a few minutes.
This is finance, and it only happened once. And I think that we could possibly, look, we have two people in this room that have brought forth their investment and their money, I don't have any, to do something to create some jobs in our community. Their processes have started. I've only been at this thing for, I think, 6 years now, but something finally started happening and we got some traction and made some decisions. I'm very fearful of anybody else going down there, especially during the election. From what I don't know what, if all of us or any of us know the magnitude of what mold will do. to your respiratory system. And it was sad and very unfortunate that for as many times that we brought up us, this community, being able to utilize our building, our incubator, before it got to the point to where it is, regardless of that, it is what it is, and we don't have the funds to fix it. But after going through there, it's full of mold. And if we don't pick up speed and pace, it's going to be no good to anybody. And there may be a lot of illnesses incurred by the inhaling of this stuff. I just think it's sad and very unfortunate that it has come to what it is with all the begging and back and forth that we deal with the ex-person. I'm sure our armory is probably in the same shape. I'm sure there's no cameras there as we've asked for the last 3 or 4 years to see if we can catch the vandals that keep vandalizing it. But I think that we need to focus more on finishing that up to utilize it for a lot of the things, especially the volunteers that we're talking about bringing in. We have some children that are going straight to prison if they don't learn how to read by grade 3. Our Boys and Girls Club, they can't service all the children in this community. We have Andrews University, we have, through my brother's keeper, access to all of the universities in Michigan, stepping up to help us, and we need to be about our business. That's all.
Can I add something? Just so you guys know, though, I'm working to move that polling location. That will come before the committee very soon, but it won't be for November, because I have a time deadline to do certain things. But we are trying to do it for the 2020 election cycle. So just so you know, we're trying to get out of that bill.
Okay, but can I make a suggestion though? If we can do something to possibly separate the workers or something and use more upfront part of the building, because
we're working on that.
Because the back is, you know what? It rained yesterday and it's gonna rain again. We're heading into the rainy season.
It's already on our radar.
It's gonna be, I'm talking about for whoever, because if it needs to be reappraised, we probably won't get what we've been offered. I know I wouldn't get. Got to spend more money too.
Mr. Singleton wants to say something. Since we're on that subject, I guess I'm trying to, we did do something with that. I mean, I thought the commission voted 9-0 to sell that building. Yeah, did you do that? Yeah. And I understand recently, like there's some type of hiccup in the process or some more. I don't know what's going on, so I just want to try to get some clarity. I don't know where I can get it from. I know city manager probably can, out of all the other work that he's doing. Then we also was out at the El Rico building with the Golden Shovels doing the groundbreaking, and we thought that. Commission also approved a special use permit and thought everything was good on that. And then I heard lately there's some type of hiccup there too. So I'm just trying to get some type of clarity of what because I'm sure hate to see those two investments, or those two economic development projects go to waste. Something that we can probably get done real quick.
We are investigating what the hiccups are and how to resolve them. And I can't give you a time on when we will have that resolution, but we are in discussion with the attorney and appropriate people to get the answers.
Because on both of those.
On both items.
And I guess I'll just add through the chair one more thing. If we can get the contracts of all others that we contract work out to, that includes city attorney, engineer, If we can get a list of those, because I think it's time that we start changing some things here as well. Start looking anyway. Because if we keep on doing the same old thing, we're gonna keep on getting what we've always got. If we don't change the way we do business, and sometimes we do business with.
Let me just say this about that. You've already done something, and that's you changed the management at the top,
Yeah,
which means you're gonna get more bang for your buck,
all right.
all right? That means that I'm going to have to scrutinize these projects. Nothing is gonna be coming to you without going through our full scrutiny. There will be no more cart before the horse. Horse before the cart before the horse, yes.
That's
No more
what I-
cart before the horse. And when we make a recommendation, it will be solid to the best of our ability. And I'm finding things that I have to go back now and have to make sure that things are done to cover the city. And we're gonna make sure the city is covered before we make any moves.
Can I ask through the chair, our new city manager a question? There was an RFP that went out in regards to all of these applications as far as medical marijuana is concerned. An RFP went out to hire someone to actually, in the form of an attorney, to actually start the process of going over these applications. And then things have changed with the state. Things have changed with the state to where even if you've been incarcerated before, or if you have a charge, now that recreational marijuana has come into play and been okayed by the majority of Michigan residents, it has just changed the whole thing. I don't know how it would affect this, but if those applications haven't been gone over by a professional that could have gotten them, would we be where we are now? Because we've been working on this for quite some time. And I personally have saw with my own eyes and ears, I've heard, our city attorney was not savvy on the laws of the state to help out in this endeavor. And if we were trying to get someone to come in and look these applications over, because these people have paid their money for these applications, and that money should have been used for someone that we hired to actually do that process and free up our public safety officers as well as everybody else.
Mr. Chair,
City Manager.
we have an attorney that is definitely trained in the area and has worked with other communities.
Who, if you don't mind me asking? Okay, go and listen back to the tapes. It'll take too long though. Because he sat in this chamber in the city of Benton Harbor and
Was it
played
Attorney,
naive about it all.
was it Attorney Rock?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Okay. Well, he didn't play naive today when we met.
Oh, no, he, just a little,
Yeah.
just a little, yeah,
Yeah.
just a little.
Again.
I'm trusting your
organization
judgment.
takes on
I just don't want to
personality
see
leaders.
business get away. Let me share this one quick story. No, this is gonna be real quick.
There goes dinner.
No, this is gonna be real quick because I don't think this is a part of the story that is heard, okay? Back in '97, I lost a son and a nephew right up there over marijuana.
Yeah.
Cause there was a big demand for it around here. After that, 2 weeks later, after my baby was murdered, my baby started having seizures. And I'm pretty sure it was brought on by stress. Okay? She died last year at the age of 33. I tried my best to get her what she needed in the form of cannabis. There's a lot of these children amongst us, not just mine. So I continue the fight because if I want it, I shouldn't have to go to somebody else's community to spend my money to get it. It should be right here, available and ready. And this month marks a year that I've lost my baby. But I'm okay, because I'm gonna keep fighting for the other ones that need it. This stuff is It helps asthma and so many other things. Where pharmaceutical medicines had messed up her kidneys, liver, and everything. Time out.
Time.
Yeah, I just wanted the clarification now. If I'm incorrect, but I remember, I think, it was put forward by Commissioner Henry, and that it was passed by the body that a notice was given to the city attorney, because at that time, I think y'all were looking for it because of the service that was rendered, didn't seem to meet the needs. And I guess it was presented as a time allotment that by contract was fulfilled, and that he's currently working at the will or pleasure of the commission. I just want to make sure, am I correct on that, or is that incorrect?
Actually,
Right.
and I think that that's something else that our city manager needs to hear, and it's recorded as well.
Yeah.
We had an attorney sit right here and tell us that he only has to answer to the mayor and the city manager.
Yeah.
Well, you don't, we've been through it. Welcome, sir. Chair,
Yes.
I'm tired.
The majority of the body passed a resolution giving what their contract requires is a 60-day notice. And I would suggest that we come back to that point. I don't know if we need to do it again, but as far as I'm concerned, there was a majority vote on it already, and it is a law, because we did vote on it. And maybe that'll kind of shake them up when they know that they got 60 more days to do a better job. Because they know that it was wrong for them to only report to the city manager and the mayor, and that divide and conquer is their goal, and they did a good job, didn't they? Thank you. But I would suggest that we go back and give them a 60-day notice.
Honorable chairs, co-chair and co-chair. I'm kind of confused, because once you present to the full body and it's voted on, that's a done deal. I don't think you go back and re-vote on something you already passed. So,
Exactly.
so therefore, he's working, based on what I'm hearing, is that he's working at the pleasure of the commission, and his contract has expired, his 60-day notice has been given. And then, and I think that the city manager needs to know that the attorney doesn't have the pleasure of, or luxury of determining what he will say or respond. When a commission asks him to read something, to give an opinion on it, he doesn't have the option of saying no or bypassing it. So that's my understanding.
Shady mayor.
Is that correct?
You're talking about something I'm not aware of now, so I can't respond to it intelligently.
Just want to say, you guys are speaking about the medical marijuana. Are you or no?
5G, I don't know, yeah. Medical
We
marijuana.
can talk about 5G in a minute. I'm talking about
Yeah, go ahead.
medical marijuana. And you got, I'm not gonna say you guys slowing the process down, but I know exactly how the process got slowed down. But what I would like to see is to get, politics and a lot of quiet commissioners would just let things just happen. I really blame every one of you, because it took a long time to get marijuana passed, legalized marijuana passed. But medical marijuana, we're talking about the voting and everything. Our people vote for what they really want. You gotta give us chances to vote on things instead of everybody making decisions all up above our head. Won't even put it on the agenda. Citizens' comments should always be written down on that agenda. I don't care what meeting it is. Otherwise, you have people come in and walk out, they don't even know they had a chance to talk. Lost my train of thought, but I'll be back. If I come back in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you, it's been a good meeting, a lot of interesting things covered.
That's good.
Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Unless somebody else wants to talk
You
about it.
guys,
Police.
See, I have to wait on
Yeah,
everybody
okay.
else to say what they got to say. I want, let me tell you that, since the meeting is over.
Thanks,
They're
Dr. John.
supposed to be supportive. We can leave it on. I gotta say, they don't need to be supportive. No process.
Everything work out, man? I talked to Cameron, he said. It's not working out.
I do it for everyone.
Commissioner Henry.
Yeah, okay, then is everything.
Commissioner, I gotta go. You got to go.
I'm not done with you. I'm not done.
Knows everything.
We don't-